Olympics will ban spectators after Japan declares state of emergency. I think I'm turning Japanese. I really think so, bro. I love this. Good for Japan. Why would you care about the Olympics? This is just going to be funny to see people that fake care about the Olympics now fake be upset about this, guys. I think every Olympics they should shut down the city for the Olympic athletes to just have sex around there, because we hear what they do in those villages, guys. They should shut down Tokyo and just have a nice, high genetic 1% value, orgy. That's what I think every Olympic should be. But, I can't have everything my way. So, Fat Man Zoom, my question for you is, which stocks are you buying off the Olympics ban?
First of all, they do have a ton of sex.
Yes.
It's crazy.
It's ridiculous.
The stories when you think about it, you bust your ass for 4 years, then you compete and you're straight, and all you're going to do, and apparently on these, what do they call it? Like the grounds, like the Olympic grounds for the athletes? The village is what they call it. Apparently there's they always have a McDonald's on site, and it's all free. All the food's free. So these athletes, especially from the third world countries, they end up going to McDonald's, not like the nicer places. They go to McDonald's and just stockpile. So not only are they getting laid, but they're getting fat. But this is a real thing, guys. Look it up. But I think so. It's crazy because you look at these headlines, and apparently, if I remember correctly, they had already banned international travel. So they weren't going to allow tourists outside of Japan into the Olympics. That was already a done deal, and they were just going to allow people in Japan. Now it looks like they're going to ban everybody. And there's a possibility it could be postponed or canceled. I think they're going to do everything they can to make sure it isn't.
Yeah.
But if they're declaring a state of emergency in the midst of the actual Olympics, this should be interesting to see how other countries respond, if they want to go, if the athletes want to go, and how Japan responds in general. So this is not a great look, but it is great, Brad, for the COVID stocks, the stay-at-home stocks. Whether you believe this is an issue for the U.S. or not, we've seen this story before. Any little scare, and this is the legitimate close down state of emergency, you see an uptick of the stocks. And I think moving into next week and through really the anticipation of the Olympics, which I think is July 23rd, I think we're going to see that fear in the headlines being dominated about this state of emergency. And I think the Zooms of the world, Peloton, even Penn to a certain extent, while everything's red, Penn's up, I think, to $72 today.
Yes.
So it's green, which is surprising. While everything else is red, I think this is going to be a narrative, at least for the coming weeks, that, Zoom was already moving. This could be a little bit of fuel on the fire for it. I think this is something that for the stay-at-home stocks are really good. But for a macro perspective, what you also have to understand is Japan is an island, and something like this that spreads, they're going to be a little bit more cautious. The reason why it's a bigger deal is because vaccinations have not been rolled out in mass. So if there was a greater percentage of vaccinations, this may be a different story. But because there's not as many people vaccinated because of the supply chain issues we talked about, there's more risk of death.
Yes, I agree. And it's interesting that the area where that's going to house the world's healthiest people, you would think, has the most worry. Because we just heard from yesterday about how Boris Johnson wasn't worried about the Delta variant or any other variant that was coming in. They're going to reopen. Restrictions were going to be lifted. This wasn't going to slow them down at all. Our buddy Jake, our partner Jake, said that Canada is going to start lifting stuff as well. And if there's anybody that's been pretty strict as anything, it's been Canada. So it's just weird to see how crazy Japan has been. I don't know what it's like over there, but it doesn't seem like it's any more prudent as far as the spread is concerned than it is anywhere else.
Yeah, that's true. And I think the implication here is the fact that it's an international event, and so where do those people go after it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And so what we learned is all these countries, they realized that they were slow to react at the beginning, so now they're just almost overdoing it, right?
Yeah.
Don't you think, Freddie? Like you if you're slow to respond and everybody got heat because they didn't make a big deal of it, now they're almost going to the exact opposite end of the spectrum where they're almost too cautious.
Yeah, I do the same thing with my girlfriend. Like when I really mess something up, the second time I make sure I do it right, and then I'm like, "Look, see, I can do it. I'm confident." It's to say, I can do it, guys. It's great. Remember the commercials with they would highlight the Olympic athletes that like work at Lowe's and stuff like that, and we all thought that was like heartwarming.
Yeah.
Now I'm watching it. I'm like, why are they working at Lowe's,
bro? That's that's the BS about it is like. Unless you're like an NBA player, a lot of those athletes, if you're, from the Jamaican bobsled team, you're not making money.
Right.
Whoa.
Well,
You're, there's some serious feedback. Is that his end or our end?
I don't know.
Say something again, Freddie.
Ooh.
Damn. Unplug and replug. Your mic,
Yeah,
yeah. Oh, things were going so well. Oh, you shut the whole thing down.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Bye.
All right, can you hear me?
Oh, there we go.
Hey, sounds good.
There we go.
These are just a part of the growing pains.
Yep.
Yeah, dude, we're doing it.
You were talking something about Jamaican children?
Yeah. So, so they like I don't know the in wrestling like at least the communist countries. This is just I guess one of the benefits of communism. I'm anti-communist, but this is the one thing that they got right. Is like if you were an Olympic athlete, they hook you up. They hook you up with like a house that's covered. If you win it, they give you a house and a car. So if you win a gold medal in a communist country, you get a house and a car. So.
Yeah, I was actually looking at this last week. If you're in South Korea and you medal, you get to avoid military service. If you don't, go into the army.
That's a weird one.
Yeah. There was two golfers that I was looking at. They opted out of the British Open because they needed to go medal, or at least try to medal in the Olympics for golf to avoid military service.
In England?
Well, they pulled out of the British Open. So there were two South Koreans. They pulled out of the British
South
Open.
Koreans, my bad.
Yeah, so they pulled out of the British Open to try and medal in the Olympics to avoid their military service, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's wild. At first, I thought you said it was English military guys. I was like, you could just avoid by just joining the English military. You would avoid war.
Yeah.